What's up, Spartan Nation? It's Jacob Kotzenik here back for another episode of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. This is the podcast for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. And lo and behold, we're going to talk about some football today. Pat Fitzgerald, more specifically. He's done a good job, I think, so far in one of the first phases of his job, and that's simply just keeping guys around. More specifically, the 2026 recruiting class, I think he did a pretty good job. We're kind of past we're a little more than a week, or not around a week since the early signing period concluded, basically, and it pretty much stayed intact, which is rare, I think, these days compared to some other schools like Penn State. Like their recruiting class just went off the wayside, and for the most part, most of the commits that Jonathan Smith had kind of stockpiled in this 2026 recruiting class, they have stuck with their pledges. And I think that's something that we have to kind of give Pat Fitzgerald some props on so far to this point. It hasn't been perfect. There were a couple of guys who were flipped from Michigan State or kind of seemed to be edging towards decommitting. The most notable recruit that we'll probably talk about a bit today is Samson Gash. Four-star in-state guy, goes to Detroit Catholic Central. He's got a brother on the team, Caleb Gash, who only appeared in one game this season. He was like the best special teams player Michigan State had in their season opener against Western Michigan, but I believe he suffered a season-ending injury in that game as well. He might have appeared in two games or so, if I'm not mistaken. But still, that's a guy that you would like to see him retain, but that one's going to be really tough. Penn State just offered him Matt Campbell, new coach over there, just kind of talked about them. But also, I think rumor is West Virginia's recruiting him hard. He visited Alabama in November when it kind of became a little more clear that Smith might not be surviving the season and getting a third season. He started to kind of look at his other options. And again, we don't know yet at the time that I'm recording. This could change at any moment. We don't know who the offensive coordinator of Michigan State in 2026 is going to be. Courtney Hawkins, the wide receivers coach, has kind of seemed to hint on social media that he might be coming back, but this is just speculation at the moment. But we don't know what type of system Michigan State's going to be running next season. Does that fit Samson Gash's game? I know his speed is really, really good. I'm like 95% sure that's one of the main strengths of his game. But it's that would be a tough one for Michigan State to lose again. I think he's either second or third, basically, in this recruiting class in terms of the recruiting rankings. But still, the bulk of this class, this is the point I'm kind of getting at here, the bulk of the class has stuck around. Colin Campbell, four-star offensive tackle, if he plays a bit next season, I wouldn't be shocked by that. He has some pretty good size for a true freshman already. He'll need to bulk up a little bit to get to Big Ten offensive tackle level. But he stuck around. It didn't look very certain that he was going to sign with Michigan State. He didn't put out this "I'm still sticking around with Michigan State" type of thing like some other recruits did. But Pat Fitzgerald still got him to sign, I think, on the third and final day of the early signing period. That was massive for Michigan State. Again, like there were a few flips. I can't. Ciale, he was like one of the best Michigan State defensive prospects. He flipped. They lost a guy to Utah. They kind of missed on some other guys. I'm trying to think through the names here, but still, this technically the class that as it stands right now is better than what Jonathan Smith had in 2025 in terms of the rankings. Excuse me, but Michigan State's 45th in the country in terms of the national rankings right now. Sorry, I just got something. But they're 12th in the Big Ten as well. That's up from 14th a year ago. It's still not where you'd like to be, I think, in terms of Michigan State recruiting. You'd really like them to be hovering towards that top 25 mark, probably maybe higher than that, again, with maybe how many resources Pat Fitzgerald seems to be getting. Again, the news of the Williamses' massive donation to Michigan State still a bit fresh. So you'd have to imagine some shape or form that maybe that donation to Spartan Ventures helps out the NIL side of things. I don't know maybe how much is going right to that, but it seems like he's going to be getting some nice resource bump here at Michigan State. And he's certainly he's going to have more than what he was going to be getting at Northwestern. because Northwestern, plenty of rich people go there, but not as much of a care about the football team and athletic side of things. But again, he kept Cade Kaufman around. That was really big too. 4-star quarterback, in-state guy. That one seemed like they locked him up pretty quickly. Again, the quarterback situation at Michigan State is one of the most advantageous things, I think, for Fitzgerald right now, because it seems he's got Alessio Milivojevic to come back. And that's huge because he's got 3 years of eligibility left. And you've also got Cade Kaufman now coming in. He could very well be the backup next year. At the very worst, probably third string. 4-star guy. If he develops well, he could be another really, really good Michigan State quarterback down the line for Michigan State. Again, we already talked about Samson Gash. He's kind of iffy. They got Joey Caldwell, really good athlete, tight end, kind of higher 3-star guy. They got Eli Bickle. Rivals has this guy as a 4-star. Other guys, Rivals has him at 161 in their overall rankings. 4-star guy, but 24/7 and ESPN haven't really seemed to have caught up quite as much. But if Rivals is right about him, look out for him definitely as well. He's an interior offensive lineman. Zachary Washington, he's the guy that's got some speed. They got him to sign as well. They flipped Jack Ziarko on early signing day. That was a nice one. Again, higher, I think he was at Miami, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. But still, it was he's a 3-star, solidly in that 3-star range. This isn't a guy all the way at the bottom of the rankings. Pretty good get there. And again, he locked up most of the guys in this class. There were not very many flips. There wasn't a mass exodus. And that's kind of the point I'm getting at here is there hasn't been a mass exodus in this roster like I thought there might be when they fired Jonathan Smith, because it's still clear the players have loved Jonathan Smith here, and you'd have to imagine that's rubbed off on their recruits. And when they fired Jonathan Smith, I thought there might be to some level, no, I don't want to play for the new coach, so I'm going to go look somewhere else. That hasn't happened. Again, I think some credit here, even though he might be one of the more unpopular people in East Lansing at the moment, is Jonathan Smith, because I don't think you don't have this mass exodus unless Jonathan Smith is recruiting in a certain way, and that's towards recruiting them to Michigan State. I think I've kind of touched on this in the past, in that he's recruiting players to play for Michigan State football and not for Jonathan Smith or their position coach. It's more about the program than about the coaches necessarily, and that's a really, really big difference. I don't know if that was the same. I'm just speculating here. I don't know if that was the same way at Penn State, but I think you have to kind of give the way J-Bat, President Kevin Guskowitz kind of was talking about Jonathan Smith at the Fitzgerald's introductory press conference last week. It was pretty cordial. It was we respect him, great guy. Kind of sorry it didn't work out. You can tell there was kind of a mutual respect there, and it kind of pained them maybe a little bit to fire him, though he's getting that nice hefty buyout nonetheless. But still, I still think if you're going to thank Jonathan Smith for one thing, it's probably that, and that these are players who seem to legitimately want to play for Michigan State, and that's not necessarily contingent on who the coach is. Obviously, that can't be. I'm sure they've maybe some of these players had second thoughts, but and then again, that comes to the credit of Pat Fitzgerald, who, without any really any coaches where he can be here's going to be your coach, he's great, he's going to do this, and this with you. It was just him and the idea of the program. That was the selling point he had to go with, and he did enough with that to get all of these players to sign on to the team and get them in the door. So I think that is the first checkbox on the list for Pat Fitzgerald that I think Michigan State fans can really be happy about. But still, there's a lot more work to do. He's retaining Joe Rossi, the defensive coordinator, and James Adams, the safety coach. So those are the only puzzle pieces on the staff that we know about for certain. We're still wondering about the offensive coordinator. We're still wondering about all the other position coaches, which will obviously be big hires in terms of recruiting in 27 and in the transfer portal. So, of course, we'll probably know more of those names in the coming days and weeks, because the portal opens on January 2nd. So that kind of has to be your deadline in terms of that. In terms of the portal, too, I don't think you haven't seen a ton of players announce that they're going to leave. Losing Nick Marsh and Mekhi Frazier kind of stinks, but Frazier was maybe one of the more loyal Jonathan Smith guys because he was going to go to Oregon State and then flip to Michigan State when Jonathan Smith took the MSU job. So it was kind of like, okay, not that surprising. Nick Marsh, I think people might have saw coming a little bit just because he wants to go to the NFL. You know, he's already going to have to deal with a scheme change probably between Michigan State. I'm presuming they're not going to bring Lindgren back if they said they're bringing Rossi back. And Lindgren we don't know about for certain yet. But chances are it'll be a new offensive coordinator because the offense was not good this past season. But Marsh, I think people saw coming just because of how good he is and kind of there's that Keon Coleman precedent set. So there's that. In the defense, you haven't really seen anyone important leave. They've lost at the time of this recording right now. This could obviously change at any moment given how quickly things move. Only two guys have announced that they're leaving. Preferred walk-on Stone Chaney. He appeared in one game in the 24th season. And corner Jeremiah Hughes, who redshirted this past season and was kind of more just kind of a fringe guy, didn't really move up the depth chart in a couple seasons here. So there hasn't been any really big losses on the defensive side of the ball just yet. Offense has taken some hits, but bringing Milivojevic is the big one, and that's still getting him back. That's really, really big. Again, there's going to be more portal announcements. We'll see how many people leave and how many people come in, but it's going to be a very interesting offseason. I'll be right there the whole step of the way. Until next time, though, thank you, though, for listening, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or any other streaming platform. Thank you again for taking the time out of your day to listen to me. But until next time, I'm Jacob Katzenegel once again. I'll see you guys around.